Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning from Dubai to all our
Good
friends.
morning. Good afternoon. This is Yunus.
Good afternoon, Professor Yunus. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Delighted to be with you.
So I'd like to welcome everyone. We have people from Algeria to Zimbabwe, over 870 people registered for the event. And
Very good.
and we have hundreds more watching it on Facebook, because we decided to go live with this one. We decided to go live on Facebook. So this event is, I'll be very short in welcoming you all. This event is very unique for our club. This is the first time we're doing something online with a number of partners and a number of clubs in association, but it's very unique because we have a very unique professor, we have a very unique speaker who will speak to us about his passion to change the world, as he has been doing for the last 40 years. And we all have read we saw his editorial. Professor Yunus sent us this editorial, and we got it printed in 12 publications in this region, including.
Oh, thank you.
We had it printed in English, in French, in Portuguese, in Urdu, and Amharic, which is a language of Ethiopia. So these are the clubs that have given us support, and if you can show us also, Alma, if you can show us the next slide, where we got the editorial printed, and we thank the alumni who made it happen in their own regions and their own countries. So thank you all on that.
Well, thank you for doing that. I wanted to have the message reach as many people as possible. Thank you.
No problem at all. This is our pleasure. It's our honor to do so. With more time, we could have done more, of course. But we did it. We wanted to have this event in Ramadan and during the pandemic, because Ramadan is a time of reflection. 1.4 billion people stop everything they do to reflect on life. And this pandemic has made it even with over 4.5 billion people confined or out of their own regular activities. So it's a time to speak about the issues that you have raised in your editorial. But I will let Hala in a minute introduce you properly. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you to my friend Zahir Al-Munajjid, who made this thing happen from the beginning. He introduced me to Professor Yunus 4 years ago. He also introduced me to Hala some 5 years ago. So here we are, Zahir. Thank you very much for connecting these dots. Hala,
thank you, Zahir.
Hello, Zahir.
Where is Zahir? He's muted.
Yes.
So one last point, and then I'll let Hala continue. So we chose a different type of moderator this time. We chose someone who could challenge the speaker in the way that Hala can do it. Hala has over 20 years of experience in managing funds, finance at the highest level. She's been very successful. She has had a very great career in Europe, a fund called Congest, a $20 billion growth equity fund. She has done also some interesting things in Lebanon and in the region. She created something 12 years ago. We're very jealous of that. She's created something called the MIT Enterprise Forum, which is talking to and bringing in entrepreneurs of the Arab world and educating them and giving them a long and very successful enterprise that she's created. And we are admiring her work when she does that in the Arab world. Well, it's normal. Hala has a triple affiliation with HEC in France, with Berkeley in America, and an MBA from MIT. So with that kind of background, Hala can do a lot of miracles. So Hala, the floor is yours now.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ghulam. Good morning, Professor Yunus. How are you today?
Good morning, Hala. Good morning. To see you this morning. Thank you for moderating this meeting.
Well, thank you for being with us. And I guess, Professor Yunus, you are beyond introduction. But if I was to say something about you, I would say you are a social entrepreneur. You're a civil society leader, and you're an economist who started in Bangladesh to reach the world with your ideas and actions to alleviate poverty. In 2006, as most of us know, you've been awarded jointly with the Grameen Bank the Nobel Peace Prize for your efforts through microcredit to create economic and social drive from below. And in 2011, you created the Yunus Social Business Global Initiative to create and empower social businesses to address and solve problems around the world. And guess what? We have a big problem today, the coronavirus. And the solution seems to come, according to you, again, from social entrepreneurship. So in a recent op-ed, as Ghulam mentioned, you explained how despite the massive damage caused to our economy, there's a huge opportunity that lies ahead of us to actually change the world we're living in and create a better world, and to avoid going back to the same frying pan, as you say, in the name of recovery, to do a tabula rasa and start from scratch and reinvent a more socially and environmentally responsible world. It is our decision, as you say. It is our decision, but we all know human nature. So allow me maybe to challenge you a bit on this one and see how, despite all the flaws we know in human nature, this can be possible. And if I go back, Professor Yunus, to how the Grameen Bank and microcredit was successful, you took a very different angle from the economists that all think of us as machines to maximize profits. And you took trust as opposed to greed as a base assumption for your model to work. So what is it today in human nature that will make us all embrace the change that you're suggesting and do a better world post this pandemic? I mean, as you say, we have angry Mother Nature and angry masses because of inequality facing us. It's our opportunity to change all that. But what's our motivation? Why will we do it at the end?
Well, thank you, Hala, for giving the backdrop of the entire discussion today and being there to ask questions, clarify issues. And I'm very happy to be here. And today, not only we have the coronavirus going around, right now we are waiting for a super cyclone, which is going to hit us in Bangladesh in a few hours, about 5 hours. It's already hitting part of West Bengal and Orissa in India. And that will be, again, something devastating, excuse me, for people around the country. And we are waiting for a second and a double crisis in a way. So in that, we are talking about what's next coming up for us. And I was not kind of relying on the human nature itself, that one has to be a good person to do all this. I'm just raising a question which everybody understands, no matter what kind of feeling you are, whether you're a greedy person, whether it's a helping person, whether it's a generous person, doesn't matter. It's a burning house. When the house is burning, you have to run away. You don't need to question whether you're a trustworthy person, you're a greedy person, or what kind of thing. So that's the kind of background. It's a burning house. House is burning, and we have to get out of that house. And we didn't have to make much effort because getting away from the house, the burning house, was decided by the coronavirus. But the coronavirus collapsed the house itself. So there is no burning in that sense. So we are here. And the innocent question I'm asking, again, not to relying on a particular aptitude of a human being or not, the question, the innocent question that I'm asking, if the corona crisis is over, shall we go back to that burning house? Or should we build a new house for us, which will not be burning? That's an innocent question. You may say yes, you may say no, or you may say house is not burning as much as it used to. That's up to you. But my question is, should we go back to it? And my answer is, we shouldn't, because the burning house is not the product of one day. It's a long process that's brought to this final stage of burning. And if you go back the way it was, it will be just finishing, just reaching the finishing line, and the whole world will be over. And why should we do that? Why should we sort of commit suicide for ourselves? And whichever direction you are, whatever commitment you have, or whatever feeling you have to answer that question. You have no escape. Either we go back, or we take a new route to avoid that going back. And along the way, I've suggested some way how to make it. That's where the differences will come. That you would like to do the same old way. I said, same old way will take you to the same old destination of burning house. So you have to build a new path, new road. And I'm giving the ingredient of that new road. And the new road will be something where all you have to do is to introduce a new concept of business. The previous business that we all practice, which caused all our problem of global warming, which is the burning house question we had. And then wealth concentration, that's also part of that world. And also massive unemployment through artificial intelligence. These are three measures. There are many others. These are three measures. So how to escape from that? I said one way to do that, create and introduce another kind of business into the system. A business which is designed to solve problems rather than make money. And it can be done by anybody who is running a business to make money. He can do that too. She can do that too. There's no problem. So you have two kinds of business, parallel business. One, you do business to make money, and another you do to solve problems. And the one that you do for solving problems, that's a kind of a opposite to the conventional business. It doesn't maximize personal interest, which is the cornerstone of the business that we know. So we said this would be something zero personal interest. Zero personal interest. So you eliminate from your interest into that. You look at the global interest, common interest, so that you can focus on it. You bring all your creativity, but at the same time you can run other business which you make money. So this is an opening of a door. It's not pushing anybody through the door. I said there is a door available. If you want to do that, these are the things can be done. And many businesses preferred that, chose that. So we created joint venture social businesses. Some of them did social business on their own. Some of them created social business, venture capital fund, and all this. So this is what I wanted to share and say this is a chance. This will never be repeated in our history, but now we have a chance.
Is it just me, or have we lost Professor Yunus a bit?
I think we have lost.
No, I'm already here. Are you? Is the voice gone?
Yeah, the voice was gone just for a few seconds.
Oh, okay. Now I'm back.
Okay, so maybe I take this opportunity, Professor Yunus, to elaborate a bit on what you were saying. So let's assume that everyone on this call wants to push that door and doesn't want to return to the burning house. Do we need to convince others also that this is the right path, and because many people are somehow in denial that the house is burning? Or do we need just to starting our own social businesses and start this movement to enhance the world we're living in?
Well, there are always people with agreements and disagreements, but there's a tremendous amount of agreement on the side that the world was becoming uninhabitable before the coronavirus came in. So that's why all our teenage young children are demonstrating on the street all over the world, who never participated in any political or any other economic or social or environmental issue before. But the first time they were on the street, and it's a Fridays for Future and many such other things. So you see a whole new generation participating in it. And then many businesses are raising this question. Governments are signing agreements like Paris Agreement to stop that and slow it down. So there's a vast amount of consensus on that one. It's not something, some group of people screaming in one corner of the world. It's not like that. So I would say this is the time to remind that this is a grand opportunity. Let's take it, grab it, because it is like a situation, it's like something like that. Suddenly, an earthquake has taken place. A city which was existing, functioning, collapsed. And everything, every building, every standing thing is now on the floor. It's all gone. Now we want to start again. Should we rebuild it as it was? Or build it, now that we have opportunity, everything collapsed, this gives us an opportunity to build it completely new way and avoid all the mistakes that we made in the previous construction of the building and so on. So this is the situation that I'm drawing attention. Many people who are on the fence may also be now interested. Yes, now that it's all gone, let's do it differently. So that's why sharing this idea is very important, and let each individual answer whichever way they did, and it's all individuals will solve this problem. Government will be the secondary force, but the primary force is individual like you and me, my friends, your friends, all together. If each of us start behaving that we don't want to go back and reorganize our life accordingly, then the world will be changed. That's the point. It's the individuals all around the world is the most powerful force. They bring their creativity, they bring their intense desire to make sure their children have a life, to make sure their grandchildren will have a life on this planet, rather than grandchildren never see the day of their life.
Professor Yunus, if I may, so for your call to have an impact on the world, we need to scale all those initiatives in social entrepreneurship that we're doing, and you're quite ambitious in your op-ed in describing this. You want businesses and venture funds and governments to join the rally of social entrepreneurship and solving problems through social businesses. Is there an underlying education problem behind this, to be able to scale and have the skills to do that? And how much, I mean, it would be much easier to have an impact and scale if governments were on our side. I mean, you mentioned the Paris Accord and the Paris Treaty for the environment, but is this really enough? How do we put government on our side, and how do we educate these young people on social businesses and how to start and scale social businesses?
Everything has to start simultaneously. It's not waiting for one or the other. It will happen spontaneously and simultaneously. Some will be slow, some will be fast. But the advantage that I'm trying to draw attention to is that this is very special circumstances where everything is collapsed. So out of your necessity, you have to build something. So you're not just sitting there and watching anymore, because you have to build. You have no escape from that. Either you are back or you are finished. So what is it that you want to build? And the point of emphasis is in normal, quote unquote, normal situation, when everything was functioning, I was trying to do something, when this is something new, it takes years. Say whatever would take probably 10 years, 20 years to build in a normal situation. Today, you can build the whole thing in a year or two, because you start from the tabula rasa. That's the issue, that's the point, when there's nothing exists. So you start existing out of nothing. Then you build it up. And it has tremendous amount of opportunities. I want everybody to realize that you can achieve the greatest thing in the shortest time, because the crisis is the deepest. The deepest of the crisis may give you the brightest of the ideas and quickest of the solution. So those are the solution point. Yes, their government will be needed, but government is not the one that will solve the problem. It's the citizens, individuals who will solve the problem. Government will play the supportive role, the role of making things happen as the citizens want them to do it. So I would see the secondary position of that. And I talked about the role of the government because no matter what happens, government has to play a role of restarting this engine. Whether they will build a new engine or start the old engine, this is a decision point. I said, don't start the old engine to go back to the old place and create the same mess. Why don't you create a new engine? And it's easy, it's not difficult. And it's here you'll have all the people behind you. You are not alone. It's not everybody waiting for government action. Government action will be needed, refinancing and also starting the bailout packages. There I say you have a choice now. Because when you have a bailout package, how do you give these bailout packages to big companies, big enterprises, and so on? Who do you give it to? That's a question you can solve right now when we are waiting for the restarting or starting and building a new engine. Do you give this money to fossil fuel, for example? All your bailout money because the big loss of the fossil fuel? I would say no. Why should you spend a penny of it if you want to build a new world? So this is a decision of not doing. It's not doing. It's a not doing. You don't pay a penny in a fossil fuel, revival of the fossil fuel. If they want to revive themselves, go ahead, let them do it. I'm not going to stop them yet. Someday I will. But today I'm not going to mess around with them. Let them revive themselves, but government will not play any role in helping them. So similarly, the plastic industry and coal industry or whatever other things which is causing all the problem, and industries which are burning the forest, miles and miles of forest in Amazonia and other places, just to have big profit out of burning the forest, preparing them for producing soybean or cattle feed or something like that. We don't want to pay a penny, rather we will making sure we put checkpoints on the way towards the new world, that only the kind of businesses which is commensurate with the new world economy, they will go through the checking point. If you are not the kind of business which is helpful to the planet, which is not damaging to the people in the planet, if you can get certified, only then you can pass through this security checkpoint. So this is the kind of issues that I'm raising. How you design those security checkpoints, you know better than anybody else. Everybody knows how to do that. It's a point that this is a chance. We can stop them, and we can start a clean start from that. And we make sure we create a new financial system, for example. The financial system is a guilty party, which created all the mess here, all the global warming and all that we are talking about, wealth concentration and artificial intelligence and everything. So how do we design that? I said one option is you start creating social business financial institutions. That's where you talk about Grameen Bank, microcredit, and all these examples of social business, venture capital funds, social business investment capital funds, social business insurance funds, insurance companies, and so on. These are examples already existing. Simply now that government has a huge amount of money to push in that direction, I said, why don't you do that? Then make these venture capital funds and social business investment fund, finance them so that they can start buying the old companies which are now got sick or bankrupt. You'll be giving the owners money to revive them. I said, instead of giving the owners to revive them and to make more money, why don't you put this into the venture capital fund, put it into investment fund, social business investment fund, so that they can start investing in it. So those companies will be revived, which are good companies, but now owned partially by people who are not interested in making profit. So that will be the tremendous change that you are making by the government actions that we have. So these are the issues that I have raised. These are plenty of opportunities, and I emphasize the fact that my voice is not the only voice. Your voice is as good as my voice. You come up with ideas how to do that. I gave my experience. I have a long experience on that. I put it on the table, and I invite everybody to put it on the table so that we don't go back. That's the critical point that we want to make sure.
Excellent.
Again, I'll stop there.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Yunus. Before I open up to questions and hand it over to Ghulam, I had a quick question. You have a number of people to hear from the financial industry, people who contribute to this mess. And let's say, and let's assume I'm one of them because I run a venture capital fund. Although I argue that I did less harm than others. If we want to go back to work tomorrow, after having read your op-ed and listening to you today, and change the way we do business, how do we start? What do you suggest I do on Monday when I go back to work and want to change the way I used to do business?
And may I ask, Professor, may I ask you to come closer to the, can you come closer to your mic?
Me?
Professor Yunus, could you come closer to your if you don't mind?
Is the voice difficult? Then I can put on some another device to make it easy. Just a second, let me put it. See if this is better anyway.
Yes,
is it any improvement?
Much better.
Okay, good. All right, that I'll use it now.
So what do I do on Monday?
On Monday, it's a very simple thing. You have been running venture capital fund. You think about creating a parallel venture capital fund, social business venture capital fund, where you'll be investing money to people, not to make money for yourself. Venture capital is always, like any other business, want to make money. Of course, that's what their objective is. Here, your objective is different. Your objective is to support and invest in businesses which are doing good to the people and the planet exclusively, solving a problem of environment, like they are trying to stop the Amazon fire. So we are they have created a company to stop the Amazon fire, the beautiful idea. And you invest in that. This would be the purpose of this particular branch or particular subsidiary of your venture capital fund. This will be social business venture capital fund, which is totally different from your conventional business that you do. You run it. I'm not stopping that, but you have now started getting some experience. That investment fund will go as equity to unemployed young people. Unemployed young people who are looking for small amount of money to start their business so that they can become entrepreneur. Because all young people are invited, always are told, always advised to get a job. And if they can't get a job, remain unemployed, they become a guilty party. You don't have employment, it's your fault. Actually, it's not his fault. It's a society's fault. It's a fault of the idea, of very concept of the employment. He or she is very good as entrepreneur, but that's what the human beings are. But no financial institution will ever give a penny to make the start of an individual young unemployed person to start his tiny business. So you can do that. This is another thing, because lots of people coming from the corona crisis will be jobless people and people who don't have any income left. So this is where your social business venture capital fund can start. So this is one idea that you can start with. And similarly, you can see whether a social business is trying to start doing things and how to make this social business venture capital fund effective in creating healthcare program, for example, because of they are coming from the healthcare crisis out of the corona. So design a business. They are designing a business to address the healthcare, to reach out to the people who are not reached by conventional either public healthcare, they cannot reach them, they are not able to reach them, or the commercial healthcare, they cannot reach them. So there are lots of unreached people. But it's something can be done. There are charity hospital, there are charity health programs, but the charity is something runs out of money. You continuously keep on raising money and push the money in one direction. I said there's another path. It's not raising money for giving charity, but raising investment funds. One, you as a social business. One, you design it as a social business hospital, social business healthcare program, then it earns the money back again. Not for making any profit for anybody, but to recycle the money again so that you can go on and expand with the surplus that you generate in your system. And we have done many of them, like digital health that we run now. Digital health reaches up to hundreds of thousands of people. To 5 million people are our clients in Bangladesh, and they can have doctors support on call 24 hours, 7 days a week, so 24 hours a day. Anytime you want to call, you can call, and you get immediate call service because there is a call center of doctors, professional doctors sitting in the call centers, taking your phone calls around the clock and advising you, sending you your prescription via SMS and all that. And once you get the prescription, if you need the medicine, there is a parallel service within the digital health, which brings the medicine at your doorstep.
Yeah.
You can pay, digitally and so on. So these are varieties of ways. I'm just giving some examples.
I mean, Roger, as pilots say, message received. We'll start working on that as soon as possible.
Right. We'll be with you.
I can see a huge flow of questions in the chat area here. So I'll hand over to Gulam to give the floor to some of our guests to ask you questions directly. Thank you so much.
Go ahead. Thank you, Hala.
Thank you, Hala. And thank you, Professor Yunus. As always, it's inspiring and motivating. And Hala says, what do I do on Monday? I will start tomorrow morning. It's Thursday. We still have one day in our week here, and we'll start tomorrow.
Good.
We have a number of questions from different participants. And of course, because of a time limit, we cannot ask everyone. But we have throughout the session here selected 4 or 5 questions. If you have time, it's about 15 minutes.
Let's try.
Yeah, so let's try that. I'll start by calling Brit Sakata, who raised an interesting question. And Brit, if you, Alma, if you can unmute Brit, please.
Hello.
Brit?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, William, everybody.
The sound is very low and inaudible.
Oh, I cannot change it now, but maybe William, can you read my question? If you don't mind, if I cannot hear.
So
can you relay the question? Somebody who's listening, can you relay it?
No, so if you don't mind, Brit, if you don't mind, I'll go to a similar question that was raised by Gada Osman.
Okay.
And, ask Gada to ask her question, which is a similar question to yours, Brit.
Hi, Dr. Yunus, and thank you.
Hi, hello.
You hear me?
Yeah, fine, completely.
Perfect. Thank you for arranging such an insightful session. I would just like to ask, for such a move, we need a kind of leader. We cannot just leave it without a clear roadmap and who's doing what. In your opinion, who should lead such a move and initiative to real life?
Well, for example, you can be a leader in your community, because if you're inspired by the idea and you know what you talk about, what you want to do it, and you can find out who is doing more than what you do in the social business direction or whatever direction that you want to go. And we have gatherings we have always convened, like in June 28, 29 every year, we hold a social business day. We bring everybody who is doing the social business and in finance and healthcare and plastic, in sports, and every direction. So they come, there are big businesses, there are tiny businesses, there are individuals, activists, fund investors, and so on. So this is a gathering. So you get to know people who is doing of your interest. So if you're a sports person, you'll be looking for all the sports people transforming the sports world into a social business direction. Some of them designing like the Olympic in Paris Olympic 2024. They will be there in this gathering. They will explain to you how Olympic can be a social business. They have a €7 billion budget for the Paris Olympic. Their decision was, when finally Paris was chosen for the venue, the decision was every penny of the 7 billion euro will be used for purposes with the social business consciousness. If it doesn't make social business sense, or if it doesn't make social or environmental sense, they will not pay a penny. So how do you design such a thing? And they are doing that. This in the process. They bring their expertise. They explain things. So you hear. You may agree. You may disagree. But you got your own ideas. And people who are doing in the field of healthcare, they will be there. Varieties of healthcare. And now we are talking about creating a social business pharmaceutical company to produce vaccine, because the vaccine has become a product of windfall gains. Everybody wants to make big money out of it. I said, no, vaccine should be global public good. Nobody should be entitled to monopolize it. It should be shared by all the people. Anybody can produce it. And we want to produce it as a social business and make sure that everybody gets it. So we are inviting people to come and join us to create social business pharmaceutical company to produce vaccines and other medicines, where we don't want to make profit out of it. It's a question of life. So this is not a question of making money out of it. So we create social business. I'm not pushing you out of business, but I'm creating a new business and be your competitor and work together on the same market. And we want to bring it to people who need it, the remotest place and the cheapest possible price and the good quality and so on and so forth. So this is the kind of thing. It's you interact with those people. There's a whole community waiting there. And if you are interested, we can introduce some of those communities to you. You can look at them, you can get in touch with them and see what's happening. And in our website, lots of information are also available.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Yunus. And next question would be coming from Karim Derbas, who also represents a few questions from the floor. So Karim, mic is to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ghulam. Really just, my question was around post-COVID-19. A lot of businesses, probably in the SME field, will be focusing on optimizing their resources to kind of save their business. How does one balance this new reality while still advancing social initiatives?
Yeah, everybody will be trying their own way. There will be profit-making businesses. There will be impact investment. There will be social entrepreneurs and so on. There will be social enterprises. There are many different names. But the conventional business is 100% focused on maximization of profit. So this is one extreme. Social business is on the other extreme. They don't want to make any profit. It's a zero personal profit. So maximization of personal profit is one end, zero personal profit is another end. So between these two ends, there are varieties of efforts which come in to mix social interest with the personal interest. They want to make money at the same time, want to do some good thing to people. So they compromise on the profit side. They are not maximizers of the profit. They are kind of a combination of profit plus doing social things. So all of them will be active. Everyone will be trying to get out of the problems that they have, how to overcome the problems created by the coronavirus. But my point is, whatever you do, please don't take the world to the old destination or old path, which is a disaster path. Find a new way where you know that your business will be totally social consciousness driven business. You will not, meaning that you will not harm the planet in your business. You will not harm the people through your business. So if it is harming the climate, you should change yourself, modify yourself, and get rid of those parts of the pieces that you have in your business which impacts negatively on the climate, and clean yourself up. This is the cleaning process that you have to do. If you're harming people by producing food stuff or something which is not good for them, stay away from them. You don't need to continue the old way. Now it's a cleaning process. You sharpen it, make sure that you are not harmful in any way in your business. So those are the kind of things. no matter which part of that range spectrum of business you are, whether you're a maximizer of profit, or we are in the 0% profit, or we are in between here. You find a way, whatever business you are, that you make your own inspection methodology, how to inspect it, and how to make sure you get rid of all those things that you didn't pay much attention before. Now you pay attention. That's all I'm saying. Pay attention that you are not contributing to global warming. You're not contributing to wealth concentration. You're not contributing to unemployment.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Another question of a different type from Dania. So Dania is talking about smart cities, which will be hubs of development within countries that are poorly governed. Dania, if you want to ask your question, please.
Yes, thank you, Ghulam, and thank you, Professor. This is the second time I see you, and you're so impressive and so inspiring. You're just amazing. Professor, I just want to tell you, I'm not in business. Actually, I'm a political scientist. I work on a project with UN ESQA for the National Agenda for the Future of Syria. I want to ask you about a concept which we are looking into it, which is charter cities, which means a country like Syria, basically the economy, there's no economy. And, you know, for example, Syria will be struck by COVID more than anyone else, more than any other country. How about starting something called charter cities, where you delegate a swath of land to a private entity or to a consortium or private entity, civil society organization to start an economic life. And this is supposed to create, economic livelihood, not only for this area, but for the whole entire country. I mean, they started it in Honduras. They are starting the concept in Honduras. Do you think the chartered city will have more place for conflict-stricken zone in the post-COVID?
I have no problem with what you are doing, what you have been you are involved with. All I'm saying that it's not the smart city issue. Is a smart city for what? Is it helping me to reduce climate global warming? That's my issue. Okay. You do a smart thing, whether you are the city or the village, doesn't matter. To me, city is not more important from the village. They're equally important to me. But my importance is to the individual, not the city. City is a creation of individuals. But I focus on the individual, wherever you live. I'm with you. Make sure you bring your creative power. You change the world yourself. Somebody else doesn't have to change it for you. So that's it. And when you do that, you make sure you're taking a path where you are not harming the climate. You're not adding to the global warming. You're not adding to the wealth concentration. You're not adding to unemployment issue and so on. So those are the issues that I want to say. These are the things that you have to address no matter what you do. And then if it is a profit-making company, I'll advise you in your effort to make profit, which is good. I'm not opposed to that. In an effort to make profit, are you harming anybody? Okay. Are you pushing us back into the old world to create all those problems all over again? And then we go to the same frying pan that I was referring to. That's what I'm addressing. A smart city is fine, but I would say, how is this smart city powered? Is it fossil fuel powered? If it is, I will not touch it. Is it renewable energy? Yes, of course, I would delight it. Then I'll say, what does it do? If it is smart, then you will not have any unemployment in your city. How can a smart city have unemployed people? Everybody should be able to become entrepreneurs. How is your financial system? Is it a smart financial system to be available to everybody at all time with no barriers, no problems? Is this what you call smart? Or you're smart to make money? That's my question. Are you helping with the smartness in changing people's life, in changing the planet's life? Then that's a real smartness for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question comes from a strong finance professional who says, all of this is good, I like it, and my heart is with you, but I have to serve capital. I work with funds. I work with investors. So he has a question. So Rajeev Kakar, if you want to take the mic and ask the question you have in mind, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ghulam. Professor Yunus, this is an absolute pleasure to get a chance to interact with you. You're very inspiring, and the work you've done is something that has inspired me a lot in the fund that we created about 14 years ago and worked in emerging markets to serve the people at the bottom of the pyramid. I have to confess, we ran it for profit, but we ran it with the motive as we defined it as doing business to do good. So the question was, do good business to do good at the same time. And the question I have for you is that we're talking about something that, and please, at the risk of sounding contrarian, almost sounds utopian, because we're dealing with individuals here, we're dealing with the whole social system and a bunch of incumbents that will obviously work towards squeezing out any such insurgents who bring in a purpose of goodness into business. And the point is, any business to succeed must make adequate profit to pay for talent, to pay for marketing, to pay for inclusion, to pay for innovation, and to pay for retention of people, because we're in a place of, or we're in a world of constant change. So how practical is this to be able to battle with individual human behavior on one side, which is intrinsically seeking greater and greater returns without purpose at sometimes, I fully agree with you. On the other side, you're dealing with another system, which is the corporate system, which is greedy in its own way and driven by a combination of stakeholders who want return, irrespective of where the dollar return goes in the world. Everyone wants 18% return year on year on year, which is not possible. So I'm not saying I support it. I agree with what you're saying, but do help me understand how practical this is to be able to make the third pillar, that is us as human beings, as community, to be able to bring about this change and survive in this big bag world of incumbents and behavior. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. You raised a very important question, because most of the people are in a position like you, working in an environment where you feel not as enthusiastic because your mind wants to do something else, but there's no opportunity for that. So gradually you'll see the opportunities emerging, because many people are moving in, and you can join in without feeling hesitation, and convenient chances, opportunities are opened up for you. I just want to clarify one thing in your statement. You say people have to be paid, people want to attract the talents, you have to find and retain those people, employ, and so on. Social business have no contradiction on that. Social business doesn't hesitate in paying people for their job. We want to make sure we get the best talent with the best salary in the market. We are not saying that you come and do free job for us. We want the best talent, and we pay the best remuneration for you. So our people, the best accountant, best IT guys, best CEO, and we pay them. It's not the question of salary. Salary is just as good or even better. All we're raising is a question of profit. If I'm running this company, am I running this company to make money for myself? No, I'm saying in my company, I'm not running it to make myself rich. I have created this company to solve the problem of healthcare for the people who do not receive any healthcare from any source. So I want to create a healthcare program. I get the best doctors possible, best technologies possible, best facilities possible, and pay them and create this business and help these people that I wanted to help. And I earn enough from my business so that I can cover all the costs. That's the key. It's not a charity organization. That's the key. Okay. So it's a financially sound organization. People love to pay the money that I charge, and it's a reasonable amount for them. Because I'm not asking for a profit. So whatever surplus is generated is plowed back into the business. That's what the social business is. The second point I wanted to make, what you can do, you have a fund, you raise it, you run your businesses. Usually what we say that each company say we have our CSR money. People don't mind giving CSR. 1% is okay. On my profit, 1% I give to good to people. So no person or no owners kind of hesitate that. This is a kind of becoming standard. In India, they made it a little bit more formal. They put it 2%. 2% of the profit should go into CSR. That's fine, no problem. My question is, how do you use your CSR money? That's my question now, not how you run your own company. Now that you have given it out, despite the fact I want a money maker, I'm a greedy person, everything else. But I give my 2%, I give my 1% and give it away. So my question is, why don't you use this money instead of giving a charity, writing a check for an NGO to do the job? Do it yourself. Use this money as an investment to a business, your business, but not to make money for yourself. You've already given it away. So this money is retained by you. Its company belongs to you, but you created a healthcare program, you created an employment generation program, you created a housing program, you created a water program, whatever it is. That's the business you want to solve this problem. And this company is a sustainable company. You are a very smart person. You design it beautifully, and you get your money back. You plow back into the business, and the next year you give another chunk of money as a CSR. It adds to that. It doesn't disappear. It becomes bigger. But CSR money disappears. It is not retained. Right. So I'm giving an idea that living it the way you do, you can do a lot. And also, many people donate money to other people for public relations, whatever it is. Instead of donating, invest in a social business. Say, I do the water program here so that people don't have to drink polluted water. And this is your good publicity for yourself. But you didn't create it for publicity purpose. You created genuinely to solve the problem because you don't want any money back from that business. You see, in social business, you get your investment money back. Right. But you don't get after that, you don't get any profit, profit is plowed back into the business. And third point I want to make, you run a big business. Can you, if it is a fund, find a kind of a fund where many people invest in your fund, and you ask all your people who are investing money in your fund, would you please spare 1% of this fund where you will not get any profit out of it? Rest of 99% of your shares, you get profit. But in 1%, you'll not get your profit. You isolate that money. People say, okay, 1% is all right. And you are not giving away your right of ownership of that 1% of share. Only the profit that you made, you don't get the profit. So you take this money for all 1% of everybody and create a social business and run it. So since they don't want this share profit from that, so you're free from that obligation. This is free, and then you can run it the way you want to solve people's problem. It's an idea, it's a burning idea in your mind, how to solve the problem. It's a problem of education, healthcare, water, sanitation, housing, we name it. There's so many problems. So you can, tiny little business runs very well, and you can inspire so many other people to do that. So this is there. If I want to do that, I can do it in 101 ways of doing that. Retaining what I do without challenging my daily routine work.
Thank you, Dr. Yunus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor Yunus, I know we're running over time right now, but I have two more questions, if you allow me, or at least
go ahead. Go ahead. Let's do that. Quickly.
Thank you very much. So one is from Barbara Schmidt-Rammer, all the way from Brazil. Barbara?
Hi, Barbara.
Alma, can you unmute Barbara, please?
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, yes.
Hi.
This is really inspiring session, and I'm really glad we have so many Harvard-related and other people on this. I don't know if it was really a question or a comment. I think go further, this 1% idea from funds, which I think is fantastic. I'm just actually creating a fund here, which funds in Brazil what I call community venture funds. It's a little bit different from microcredit in that these are funds run by communities. So I would go one step further. One is for us, or you, the fund managers, to start a fund. Another one is to, link up with people like, myself and others who are actually working at the base of the pyramid. One of the things I'm finding in the large foundations and philanthropy is often the kind of things that get funded are very much from the head and the ideas of the people at the top, when a lot of the solutions, as you know yourself, Grameen is an example, come from the bottom. I mean, these entrepreneurs at the bottom in the poorest areas are incredibly resourceful and creative. And we need to invest in their ideas because they know, where in their reality where they live, what the solutions are. So we need to put together our know-how, but also value their know-how, which is already there, but needs funding to go and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, exactly. That's what I was mentioning before, is creating a social business venture capital fund, where you'll be focusing on the people that you just mentioned, at the very low level of income, low level of existence, struggling with their life, but filled with lots of creative ideas. But the system doesn't help them. System doesn't have anywhere near them. So you create the fund, finally a system works for them. The resources are available to them. You make the resources available and they get a chance in their life. And then they take it from there. They become successful entrepreneur and you'll be with them and so on. So this is an excellent idea that we do. By the way, in Brazil, there's a company that we created called Yunus Social Business. So they have been working there for several years now, and many universities in Brazil have created Yunus Social Business Centers. So I would like you to get connected with them to find out what they're doing. Does it make sense to you? Because you're living in the same city where they work, and see what they're doing. So I'll be very happy that you get connected. Also, we are trying to do something about the Amazonia forest, how to transform part of Amazonia forest as a social business, so that we retain that Amazonian forest, make sure it can grow, it's safe, others cannot intrude into it. Those people who are burning it, will invite them to join us. I said this would be a demilitarized zone for you, where you come, you leave your weapons back. Here we work together to make sure this piece of Amazon becomes a green Amazon, uninterrupted by any intervention of destroying them. And all the people who live there will have the best of life possible, and the animals who live there will have a protected life for themselves. So let's work together. Maybe you are doing something we don't like somewhere else, but here we are friends. We work together to make it something different, and you will enjoy doing it. So we are starting the process now.
Good, thank you. Next question is from our friend Tariq Qureshi, who believes in abundance and no restrictions. Tariq?
Yes, Professor Yunus, absolute honor and privilege to be with you.
Thank you.
Hi. Professor, I am a great believer in abundance in this. When you look up in the sky, you see solar energy that can produce basically unlimited kind of energy. And free energy can give us lots and lots of opportunities. So there are two-part question. And one of them is that the top 5 to 10 companies will represent over 50% of the total capital value in the companies. When they are making so much money, if we, rather than take 1%, take an ongoing contribution for every single transaction done by a robot, run by automation and AI, and transfer way more than 1%, and the marginal cost for them to do it is almost nil. So it's not even capital, it's a service, it's a platform. And this can start creating abundance for solar energy, it can start creating for things like that. So what I'm saying...
What are the questions? Quickly, please.
The question, yeah. So the question is, can we create a platform, which perhaps you should lead, Professor Yunus, is an abundance platform where we get all of these people to come in behind this kind of governance structure and give the marginal cost and give technology and services more than just money?
Yes, excuse me, it's possible. But my role that I see is not a fundraiser of that type. I give ideas to people. I don't raise money. I go to people, for example, super rich people, talk to them and tell them that, look, you already signed the giving pledge. There are, I think, 186 billionaires in the world who signed the giving pledge. Maybe the number is increased by this time. So there's lots of billions of dollars stuck there. They already decided to give it. Some has given 100% of their wealth already. like Mark Zuckerberg, 99% he has given up his shares to a charity. So those kind of things. As I'm asking, what are you making use of that? Charity is a traditional thing. It works for something, but it doesn't change the system. So why don't you invest this money? Make it social business investment fund so that people can invest out of your money and create companies. You yourself can do that. You create your social business funds. You invest. You instead of putting it in a charity fund, you create investment funds, venture capital funds, social businesses, and so on. So there you have a system. Your money is retained because half the wealth that you've given away, billions and billions of dollars, will disappear sooner or later because it will be given away as charity. But if you put into the fund of the social business type, it will continue to grow, continue to serve, continue to create institutions. So I give those ideas, hopefully, while I'm arguing it for the super rich, those who have signed the giving pledge, I can talk about all the Middle East people who spend billions of dollars in zakat just to give as a charity. I give them, okay, zakat is fine, you're doing that. Can you also invest in helping people to overcome their problem, rather than give the money, same money next year and the next year to do the same thing, nothing changes. But you create a system where they will change completely. Their children will be changed, their family will be changed because they have taken control of their own life, because they're in charge and they are the entrepreneurs, because you financed them and you stood behind them. Why don't you do that? So rethinking of the one that you already have. It's not additional thing. It's already you have that. You have the foundations. I tell the same thing to the foundations. You give charities, but why don't you take half of your money to create a social business fund instead, and do exactly what you do in a foundation, but don't give it as a charity. Give it as an investment so that people can invest and create companies and return the money back to you and continue to function so that it grows. That's the beauty of the system. It's not something that you lock up and disappear. I stop here.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Yunus. What an inspiring and informative session. What is, we are so energized right now. We're so interested in going to the next level. This discussion was about finding the right way, and we believe as investment professionals and company executives and so forth, we believe that we will find a way. This discussion inspired us. It answered some of our questions. I'm not sure yet, honestly, if we have found the right balance yet. Rajeev, Jens, and I have been thinking and talking about how to answer your call. And for the last 2 weeks, we've been talking every day about this. We will come back to you. We will come back to you.
Most welcome, anytime.
We will come back to you with a specific idea, a specific proposal, specific way to work with you. One of the ideas we talked about is to have your social impact annual event next year in Dubai, and this is something I'll be working with with your team. This is something we would love to welcome in our region, and it'll be an honor and a pleasure to have that event here annually. We will come back to you with more specifics. I see a lot of comments, a lot of inspiring ideas. Give us a couple of weeks and we will come back to you. But I want to thank you for taking the time and taking more time than was allocated to answer our questions. We were up to 400 people attending the event here online, and on Facebook we were over 1,000. So quite an audience today. Thank you very much, Professor Yunus.
Thank you, Ghulam, for giving me this opportunity to meet you and talk to you, and also to Hala for introducing me and moderating the meeting. Thank you very much, and we'll keep in touch.
Of course, we would love to be in touch. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So now we have a total of 15 minutes, or not even 12 minutes or more, if needed, to have our own kind of networking session and discuss what we have we were not able to discuss during the 1 hour allocated to us. So anyone wants to start, maybe I can ask Brit perhaps to start again if her mic is working now. Brit?
Hi, Gulam, will you hear me now? I'm sorry, I'm having a trouble with my microphone.
Yeah, perfect. Now we hear you. Yeah, please go ahead with your comment or question. Professor Yunus is gone, but we can discuss internally and network this way. It's a bit like our capital events. We have a speaker, and once he's gone, we go on the terrace and have our own discussion, right?
Yes, that's true. One of the questions I wanted to ask him, unfortunately he could not hear me, is the level of corruption in Bangladesh at this moment. I wanted to ask him, and maybe you have some ideas, in countries that are underdeveloped and where corruption is really at high stake, how can you actually really reach to marginal people? And although as much as we try to do some initiatives, although he was mentioning many times that we have to start at our level and not at a government level, I think somehow we need to be connected. And it's very difficult to do it all from a civil society only. I don't know what you think, but...
Yeah, it's an excellent question, actually. And it looks to me, and I will let somebody else, an expert, answer that question. But it seems to me that Professor Yunus basically says, it's what it is. I have to live with in the context where I am, and whether there's corruption or not, it's something that I cannot change single-handedly. I will do what I can do to address part of the problem. But you're right, there must be 150 countries out of 200 where corruption is stopping the goodwill of people. So I don't know if there is an expert in the room who can address this question, please raise your hand or open your mic. And Alma, can you open all mics? I think they're open now, and we can talk openly, freely now. So if there is an expert, please go ahead. No expert in corruption.
Well, can I say something? Corruption is very difficult. We have the same situation in Lebanon. So, I mean, now in Lebanon, people are actually in front of the French embassy telling them, please don't give us any aid, because the aid you give us doesn't end up with the people. It ends up with like reinforcing the politicians' behavior. It's encouraging them. And corruption is a big issue. I mean, I think here like the UN should put more, and UN donor countries should put more supervision whenever they give funds, whenever to accept a country. It should be transparent, but there is no direct answer for corruption.
Who will validate? Will it be a CA firm? Will it be KPMG? Will it be like a Veritas, Bureau Veritas, that approves certain things? Both companies were involved in massive scandals, one in South Africa and one in another country in Africa, where they audited all kinds of stuff. So who do we trust? Do we trust?
But that's the problem,
That's
Ghulam.
the root of the problem.
The problem, Ghulam, is who is commissioning them to do the job?
Us.
Like, you know.
Us. We give them an assignment. The World Bank gives them, IFC gives them an assignment. Shareholders give assignments. Who do we trust? Who will measure? Who will certify?
Ghulam, this is Rajeev. If I may share my experience. In 2005, when we started our emerging market businesses and created our fund and went ahead and created operating businesses, our fear was the same. And you're absolutely right. I think there is a lot of corruption, but frankly, it depends on how you do business. In our experience, in each of the markets we went to, you did often find people who were unscrupulous, but it is a way to run good business. And there's a premium increasingly. I think today in 2020, there's an increasing premium around governance. and integrity. So I think we should accept that as a reality, but not become party to it. And I think if I understood what Professor Yunus said towards the end, in some ways he's trying to address the same corruption. Instead of donating money and giving it to NGOs or giving it to people to do good on your behalf, why don't you go ahead and create a sub-business out of your own 1 or 2%, and then do it yourself, because it's your money, you do it, but you just don't expect a return on that pot of money. But I think emerging market corruption is probably overdone. It's a question of whether you want to be a party to it or you don't want to be a party to it. I don't think it's entirely difficult to survive without being a part of it. And the only thing is emerging markets come with volatility, but they come with great opportunity too. So, I think the developed world probably is more corrupt and difficult to find sometimes than the emerging markets.
There was an interesting comment from, thank you, Rajeev. There was an interesting comment from Amal Enan. If Amal is still around, I'd like to hear from Amal. No? Not around, okay. Anyone else? Any comment, any questions, any suggestions? Mohammed Rashid. Mohammed Rashid Shafi, can you unmute Mohammed, please?
Hi, Ghulam, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, nice. Hi, everyone. So I think I heard a theory from Dr. Yunus, not returning to a burning house and one-way road. I like to draw attention countries like us, where the 25% people are living under poverty. Another 25% people are close to the poverty line, and another 25% are just struggling with the COVID-19 situation. So in that case, and also the government is not expecting a positive GDP practically this time. So I think we have only one house to go back, and we have only one road to follow. So where should we go? How would we build new houses and how will we build new roads?
Who's going to answer this one?
By changing maybe legislation?
We don't have money, man. Legislation will help if we have funds.
I think the metaphor he used was not to go back to our old ways as opposed to physical structure. And perhaps after this experience all of us have had, at least some of us will change the way we think, and those people who change the way they think could be agents of change for the better as we go forward. I think he was using the house as a metaphor. I mean, that's how I read it.
Somebody said better legal system. Can a lawyer say something about a better legal system? We have people from Harvard Law here. No one? Okay.
Hey, Ghulam. I know I'm not a lawyer, and I'm actually ran away from a politic direction. I went into business, and I heard from Rajeev Deshpande that the more you go up in business, the more you get closer to politics. About the corruption in Lebanon and in any country, I think it's the responsibility of the good leaders in the country, because if you leave it to other countries to fix it, they will not fix it. If you leave it to the UN, they will not fix it. There are leaders in the country who are good leaders, and those leaders should act. The responsibility falls under them. If they do nothing, fearing for their lives, for their positions, I think that's the main point. Yeah, it falls under the leaders.
You're absolutely You're absolutely right. In fact, I just turned and picked up 2 books that are on my bookshelf here. One is called Leadership Dubai Style. Look at what Dubai has done. You are,
yes,
surrounded by 150 countries which are problematics. And here is one state that has done it so strongly, so nicely, because a leader took an initiative and went and didn't deviate, etc., etc. We have a book that I have close to my desk here, is called Trust, and it's from Tarun Khanna, professor at the Harvard Business School, which this book is also very, very inspiring. It really opened my eyes on how do you establish trust in those markets, and how do you, and I think that's it's the same story with COVID. Until we have someone we trust who tells us it's safe to travel, it's safe to go to restaurants, etc., etc., we will stop. It's that trust, like Rajeev said. You have to build your own bubble of trust with people you can trust and work in these emerging markets. You cannot change everything, but you can create that.
Do something. True.
Yeah.
True. Thanks.
Anybody else? Any other question? Or do you want to see what my bookstore, my bookshelf has? I have this book also, of course. That's Creating a World Without Poverty, Mohamed Yunus.
That's great.
Anyway, enough show off. Any more questions, or shall we call it a day? We are reaching, we have exceeded actually by 5 minutes what we had allocated that time. But we still have 135 people involved in that conversation. So anybody wants to raise a point, express an idea, promote a program, feel free to do so.
I think, Ghulam, you should be doing more. Huh?
A gentleman was talking. So who is this?
I am Rashid Shafi again. So I'm just asking you that we appreciate for this session, and we expect that you should organize more sessions like this.
Inshallah, absolutely happy to do so. But the way we see things is that I think we are not, it's not just a club in Dubai or a GCC. Let's open, we've opened it up to 12 clubs this time. Let's continue this way. Technology allows us to, you are sitting in one continent, I'm in a different continent, and someone is in Brazil, etc. So we are talking and connecting and so forth. So the next one we'll try to do one every month or less, because an overdose of a Zoom session is not a good idea either. So we'll space them in a proper way, and summer is coming, but we'll be happy to do some. And if you have any big speaker you want to bring on board, please let us know. More than happy. So on that note, Almasa.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a fantastic session, and you name it, it's all about the leadership. And I just want to name out, talking about corruption, the Shaukat Khanum Hospital in Pakistan, which is run by Imran Khan. And since he took over, the corruption is not eradicated, but has really slowed down in Pakistan. And the principle of Shaukat Khanum, it's the best anti-cancer hospital that is built purely in fundraising amongst two sources, the zakat and the donation. And this is really a very, very good role model to follow on as a social impact business, because it diversified the charity as well as the social impact. So that's the comment I wanted to add, as an example to follow. As we mentioned, healthcare and so on, this is really something that people should think more, instead of being profit-oriented, being more social-oriented, mostly when it comes to the health of the population, and lead by example.
Yeah, thank you, Almasa. But my question remains the same. If I want to do charity, I'll give money to charity, and it's a one-off, and maybe even regularly, but it's a one-off and it's done. What Professor Yunus is talking about is a fund that will be there permanently, earning no interest, no remuneration to the capital, and they're permanently putting money back into the system. So it's a different way. Charity is different, social impact business is different. This is a new way. He wants to find a new way to leverage
what the Shaukat Khanum is doing, because you see they have created a financial, I mean it's very regulated on the financial side, and as I said it's divided between the charity, the zakat, and the pure donation as an NGO kind of pattern, and he has already developed 3 hospitals over Pakistan, and he keeps developing it, putting his image, his strong charisma as a leader to drain on board the capital, you know, putting his time and energy to collect it through fundraising. And this is a real role model to follow, because you need to have an iconic leader that impact the project and make it, you know, develop it as an institution on its own, non-profit oriented, but yet kind of a company model.
Ghulam, can I speak 2 minutes about the concept of charter city, because I couldn't develop it. I knew Professor Yunus had so many questions. The concept of charter city, is it in a...
Only 1 minute, please, if you don't mind.
In a country like Syria, where, you know, it's like devastated, where you take an area and it's like has its own administration, you know, its own system. And then companies can come and create an economic life. They can open factories, they can open hospitals, and it has its own system, like a free zone. Yeah, and this will create, it's like an oasis of economic prosperity in these areas. And it should be funded from social corporate responsibility, from the fund like Professor Yunus talked about, but it's to create economic life, economic prosperity in conflict-stricken areas, stricken countries.
Anyone has any comments on Danya's idea? And it's not actually, it's an idea that has been developed over the last few years.
Yeah, in Honduras.
Yeah, I have read about all of that. Some people have even been accusing this system to creating a system of colonies by the multinationals to have their own production zones in a war zone, but a protected city.
To be self-sustained.
Maya?
To be self-sustained, that's the whole point. You start with something that you can do by yourself. Start with the things around you, maybe in the building that you live, talk to the people, maybe change the source of energy that is for the common areas, then start and extend slowly, slowly. In the villages, you can maybe do the self-production, everybody what is good at, help with what they can do in the society, so they can start being more independent, more self-sustained, not dependent on the governments, not dependent on the banks. That's the whole point. So if we have to take one thing from here, is start with the things around you, talk to the people around you, and start and see what you can change to help the people, to help the planet, to elevate the people, and to mentally elevate people. That's the most important thing, because when one person is in a good state of the mind and the spirit, then they can actually give the best for themselves and the most important for the others and the planet.
Well, on that positive note, as Professor Yunus said, start at your level, start as an individual, and it will grow. On that positive note, Maya, thank you very much for your positive comment. I'd like to close this session. It was a very interesting session. I really enjoyed moderating it, and we'll do it again within a month.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghulam.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
It's a great job, great effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ghulam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ghulam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ghulam.
Thank you, Ghulam. Very interesting. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Ghulam.
Thank you.